What if I told you that the ancient Stoics had a way of dealing with anxiety that didn't involve trying to escape it? Not by pretending everything was fine, not by forcing themselves to just think positive, and not by waiting for life to finally become less stressful. Instead, they practiced a mindset that helped them stay calm even when life felt completely uncertain. Now, to be clear, Stoicism isn't a replacement for professional mental health care or medication. But for over 2,000 years, its principles have helped people respond to fear, uncertainty, and stress with a little more clarity and a lot more resilience. So if you've ever found yourself lying awake at night, replaying conversations, worrying about the future, or feeling trapped in your own thoughts, this video is for you. Because by the end of it, you'll understand why the Stoics believed anxiety isn't something you defeat by controlling the world. You overcome it by learning to control your response to the world. Let's get into it. Most people assume anxiety starts because of what's happening around them. A difficult conversation, an uncertain future, a medical diagnosis, financial pressure, a relationship that suddenly changes. But the Stoics saw it differently. They believed anxiety usually doesn't begin with the event itself. It begins with the story we tell ourselves about that event. Marcus Aurelius wrote that our lives become whatever our thoughts dwell on the most. Long before modern psychology started studying thought patterns, the Stoics understood something incredibly important. The mind is capable of creating suffering long before reality ever does. Think about how often this happens. You get an unexpected text. Almost instantly, your mind starts filling in the blanks. What if they're upset? What if something's wrong? What if I lose everything? Within seconds, your heart starts racing. Your breathing changes. Your muscles tense up. And the truth is, nothing has actually happened yet. Your body is reacting to a story your mind created, not to reality. That's why Stoicism doesn't begin by trying to eliminate difficult situations. It starts by teaching you to separate facts from fearful interpretations. Epictetus famously said that people are disturbed not by events themselves, but by the judgments they make about those events. That's a pretty profound shift, because if anxiety is fueled by judgment, then peace begins by changing how we judge, not by trying to control everything around us. One of the first Stoic practices is surprisingly simple. Just stop for a moment and ask yourself, what has actually happened? Not what might happen, not what someone could be thinking, not what your mind keeps predicting. Just, what's objectively true right now? When you do that, you'll notice something interesting. Most anxiety lives in possibilities, not realities. The Stoics understood that imagination is powerful. It helps us prepare for the future. But if we don't keep it in check, it also creates disasters that never happen. That's why they constantly train themselves to return to the present. Not because the future doesn't matter, but because worrying about a future you can't control steals your ability to deal with today. And that leads us to one of the most powerful ideas in Stoicism: the dichotomy of control. According to Epictetus, every situation can be divided into just two categories: things you can control and things you can't. You control your effort, your character, your choices, your discipline, your attitude, but you don't control other people's opinions, the economy, traffic, a diagnosis, the weather, social media comments, or whether someone chooses to love you. The problem is, most of us spend the majority of our emotional energy trying to manage that second list. And that's exactly where anxiety takes hold. It's like trying to stop the ocean with your bare hands. Eventually, you'll wear yourself out, not because the ocean is cruel, but because you're fighting something that was never yours to control in the first place. The Stoics believed so much of our suffering comes from trying to control outcomes instead of mastering ourselves. So the next time anxiety shows up, pause and ask yourself, is this actually within my control? If the answer is yes, take action. If the answer is no, practice acceptance, not passive acceptance, active acceptance. Because accepting reality allows you to respond wisely instead of reacting emotionally. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning that he would encounter difficult people, unexpected setbacks, and uncomfortable situations. Not because he was pessimistic, but because he didn't want to be surprised when life acted like, well, life. That brings us to one of the most misunderstood Stoic practices, negative visualization. At first, it sounds a little strange. Why would anyone intentionally imagine losing something they care about? Because the Stoics weren't trying to create fear. They were taking away fear's power. Seneca encouraged people to mentally rehearse adversity, not to panic, but to prepare. When you do that, two things begin to happen. First, you realize you're capable of handling far more than you thought. And second, you become deeply grateful for what you have right now. Imagine spending just 1 minute appreciating your health because you recognize it isn't guaranteed. Your family, your home, even your next breath. Suddenly, the ordinary doesn't feel so ordinary anymore. Negative visualization turns fear into gratitude. Instead of constantly asking, what if everything goes wrong? You begin asking, if this were gone tomorrow, have I appreciated it today? That one shift changes everything. Because gratitude and fear rarely occupy the mind at the same time. Finally, the Stoics practice returning to the present through simple awareness. Whenever anxiety started pulling them into the future, they didn't chase every fearful thought. They grounded themselves in what was happening right now. What can I see? What can I hear? What action can I take today? Not next year, not next month. Today. One calm breath, one wise decision, one honest conversation, one disciplined action. Because your life is never lived in tomorrow. It's always lived right here, in this moment. Anxiety pulls your attention toward an imagined future. Stoicism gently brings you back to the present, not by promising that life will become easy, but by reminding you that peace has never depended on certainty. It's always depended on how you choose to respond to uncertainty. And maybe that's the ancient lesson so many people have forgotten. Not how to escape fear, but how to stop letting it run your life. Here's what I think makes Stoicism so different from a lot of modern advice about anxiety. It doesn't promise you'll never feel anxious again. It doesn't promise that life will suddenly become predictable. What it does promise is something much more valuable. It helps you become the kind of person who can stay steady even when life isn't. The Stoics understood something that's still true today. Life has always been uncertain. Empires rose and fell. People lost loved ones. Fortunes disappeared overnight. Illness came without warning. And yet Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus all believed that peace was still possible. Not because the world became safer, but because they learned how to become stronger than the fear itself. Think about everything we've covered. When anxiety shows up, don't immediately believe every thought your mind throws at you. Separate the facts from the story you're telling yourself. Ask what is actually true. Then divide the situation into two parts. What's within your control and what's outside of it. Give your energy to the first. Let go of the second. Practice negative visualization, not because you expect the worst, but because it reminds you not to take today for granted. And when your mind starts racing toward an uncertain future, gently bring it back to the only place where you can actually do anything. Right here, right now. One breath, one decision, one small action. If you keep practicing that, something starts to change. Your circumstances might not look any different. The bills still come. People still disappoint you. Plans still fall apart. Life still surprises you. But your response changes. Instead of spiraling, you pause. Instead of panicking, you think. Instead of asking, what if everything goes wrong? You begin asking, what's the wisest thing I can do right now? And honestly, that one question can change the direction of your entire life. Because anxiety lives in imagined futures. Wisdom lives in present action. The Stoics never believed the goal was to eliminate fear completely. Fear is part of being human. The goal is to stop letting fear make your decisions, to choose reason instead. Again and again, day after day. Stoicism isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming emotionally resilient. It's about becoming the kind of person whose peace isn't determined by every unexpected event. The kind of person who stays grounded while everyone else is overwhelmed. Because when your mind becomes your greatest ally instead of your greatest obstacle, very little in the outside world has the power to shake you. That's the freedom the Stoics spent their lives trying to teach. And more than 2,000 years later, it's a lesson that's just as relevant today as it was then. If you found this video helpful, be sure to subscribe to the Sovereign Mindset Code for more practical Stoic wisdom that helps you build discipline, master your emotions, and develop a stronger, calmer mindset. And I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and let me know. Which Stoic practice are you going to try first? The dichotomy of control, negative visualization, or simply becoming more present? I read as many of your comments as I can, and I'd genuinely like to know. Now, here's something most people never connect. The same mindset that fuels anxiety also fuels anger. Both emotions grow when we fight against things we were never meant to control. So if you want to become truly emotionally unshakable, I want you to watch the video that's on your screen right now. It's called How to Control Your Anger Like a Stoic. It builds directly on what you learned today, and it might completely change the way you respond to frustration, conflict, and everyday stress. I'll see you there.